talking about the Houthis already giving a clarion call if the United States attacks Iran in any shape or form, we're going to start with our onslaught on the Red Sea, which has been happening for the longest time. United States has postured it up rightly with their own strike carrier groups in the Red Sea and the Mediterranean Sea. Those are some aspects to take a look at. I'm going to quickly go across to Major Samir Paltur. Is this going to become a headache now, Major, for Donald Trump, that he has to take into account the 40,000 US troops that are situated at 19 different US sites, many of them operating for the last 15 years in the region? He has to now take care of all of those troops as well. What does past precedent tell us? And these unprecedented strikes, what does the future have in store for these troops?
Kabir, if you see, President Trump has just stirred up the hornet's nest. Now, the reason why I say that is, you see, firstly, Iran is playing double standards. Firstly, Iran is the one which has always and forever been supporting Hamas, Islamic Jihad, Hezbollah, and the Houthi rebels. They have always sided with them. Even the insurgents in Iraq were backed by the Iranians, and the weapons that they acquired was from a Chinese company called Norinco. And the head of Norinco's have been arrested, the vice presidents, the general managers, the senior position vice presidents of Norinco. It is a Chinese weapon company which has actually helped Iran equip these rebels with weapon systems. So over the years, it has become a nuisance. And now Iran was basically playing a gimmick by buying time and not being decisive. So it will be unfair on our part to say that, Israel and USA were, planning an attack on the 61st day. They had no choice. Because whenever a chance and opportunity was given to Iran to sit on the table and to talk, they always were buying time. They kept delaying. So the delaying tactics resulted in, on the 61st day, that was 13th of June in the morning, IAEA categorically made a declaration that Iraq has been a constant defaulter for the non-nuclear proliferation treaty, NPT. And Iran had constantly been inviting the North Koreans to their sites. There are around 600 Russians right now as we speak stationed in the Bushehr nuclear power plant, which has been declared to IAEA as a civilian nuclear plant. But what is the point of stationing 600 Russians to run one nuclear facility? So these were the issues which were problematic. And over the years, the Houthis created a nuisance in the ocean. Supply chain management got disrupted. So let us be mentally prepared that, the Hormuz Strait is going to be blockaded by the Houthi rebels. They are, in lakhs, and they are ready to support Iran on ground as well. But the key takeaway is that Iran's air power has been decimated. And as far as sealing of Iran's borders is concerned, that needs to be looked into because, see, end of the day, Iran is definitely going to get smuggled weapons in. And last week, China's 3 transport aircrafts have landed in Iran and one has landed in Lebanon. So, what is the business of, at this critical juncture, what is the business of Chinese transport aircrafts being
Eyes in the
airborne
air.
in
Major
these
Samarpal
areas?
Tour, I most probably think, and this is my limited opinion, it must be eyes in the air. They need some sort of surveillance because they don't have the wherewithal, at least for self-defense, like Israel has at this point in time. I'm going to quickly
I
go
mean,
across to, of course, Major Dan Pfefferman. But before that, let's listen in to what the Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi, Foreign Minister of Iran, had to say at the Turkish Foreign Ministry. He was there attending the OIC meet. He's been, taking part in those hectic parleys, meeting the European counterparts and the delegation, and then meeting the Arab nations at the OIC as well. Here's what Abbas Araghchi had to say after the strikes by US on Iranian nuclear sites.
The US military attack on the territorial integrity and national sovereignty of a UN member state carried out with genocidal Israeli regime, carried out in collusion with the genocidal Israeli regime has once again revealed the extent of the United States' hostility towards the peace-seeking people of Iran, who will never compromise over their independence and sovereignty. The Islamic Republic of Iran continues to defend Iran's territory, sovereignty, security, and people by all means necessary against not just US military aggression, but also the reckless and unlawful actions of the Israeli regime. While President Trump was elected on a platform of putting an end to America's costly involvement of forever wars in our part of the world, he has betrayed not only Iran by abusing our commitment to diplomacy, but also deceived his own voters by submitting to the wishes of a wanted war criminal who has grown accustomed to exploiting the lives and wealth of American citizens to further the Israeli regime's objectives. The US act of aggression against Iran's peaceful nuclear facilities constitutes not only a flagrant breach of the UN Charter, especially the prohibition of the use of force under Article 2, Paragraph 4, and the obligation to respect the state's territorial integrity and sovereignty, but also a violation of UN Security Council Resolution 2231. It cannot be emphasized enough how much of a devastating blow that the US, a permanent member of the Security Council, has dealt to the global non-proliferation regime.
Well, Major Pfefferman, you heard Abbas Araghchi, and it's quite strange. I mean, I must come out, quite clearly that Khamenei is missing right now. Usually, you'd expect the Supreme Leader to come out with some sort of statement, at the cusp of such, a peak in the escalation in the West Asian crisis. But all that has happened is a June 18 post that has now been reposted by the Supreme Leader's, social media post. When talking about Iran's Atomic Agency's statement, help us understand how Iran is now going to posture itself for future talks. I'm going to read out a little snippet of that statement. It says, the Atomic Energy Organization of Iran assures the great nation of Iran that despite the malicious plots of its enemies, with the dedication of thousands of revolutionary and motivated scientists and experts, it will not allow the development of this national industry built on the blood of nuclear martyrs to be halted. So essentially, the nuclear development is not going to be halted. And I think that's the global objective here, which is again the question I was asking. With the military objective, with military coercion, is there a real case that the lines are being blurred, that people are sort of going away, dissipating away from the actual objective, which is the fact that Iran should not have a nuclear weapon? And look at how confidently the Atomic Energy Association of Iran has come out with this statement.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, just trying not to laugh as I listen to Araghchi's statement. It's as if they took the exact reality of the situation and just turned it into a complete mirror of itself, accusing Israel.
What exact portions are we talking about here, Major Pfefferman? Just for the benefit of the viewers here.
Araghchi's speech that we just all listened to.
What exactly about that speech? I know we're talking about Araghchi's speech.
Pointing to Israeli aggression, trying to portray Iran as some kind of victim who is abiding by international law. Iran, of course, has maintained throughout its entire 20-year history of participating in international negotiations that its program is a peaceful one. And of course, it does have the right to a peaceful program, as do all nations on earth. Except that we know through time and time again, through Israeli intelligence, through American intelligence, through different international intelligence agencies, and now the IAEA, the International Energy Atomic Agency, confirms Iran has been marching and trying to sneak towards weaponization, as my colleagues here on the panel also said. It uses the cover of international negotiations as a way to buy time. It lies through its teeth to the international community, all while marching towards a nuclear weapon, claiming that it's a civilian program. And of course, it has the right to a civilian program, but it has long ago lost the trust of the international community. And any country that continues to provide diplomatic cover for Iran's supposed right to enrich nuclear material is either completely naive, delusional, or complicit in this twisted jihadist worldview of which Iran wants to take over certainly the Middle East in its own backyard, but also eventually the West. And this is part of the death to America, death to Israel, a policy that has stood at the heart of the Islamic regime since 1979.